Welcome to the City Club of Eugene's November 22nd, 2024 program, Food Insecurity in Lane County. My name's Andrew Kalk, and I am City Club's president. We're coming to you from our home at the historic Wow Hall in the heart of downtown Eugene, and it's my pleasure to extend a warm welcome to our speakers and to all of you joining us here in person, online, and over the radio. Since 1990, City Club has been dedicated to our founding mission to build community vision through open inquiry. In accordance with our mission and purpose, we hope to help connect people throughout our community and across generations, identities, experiences, and perspectives. You are invited this week and every week to join us in this effort, to share your wisdom, to learn something new, and to take active steps to make a difference in this city and region that we love. Of course, we cannot do this work alone, so a special thank you today to our Platinum Community and Diamond sponsors. The Eugene Area Chamber of Commerce, serving as a catalytic leader in creating a vibrant and diverse economy that drives economic opportunity and well-being. Kaiser Permanente, which exists to provide high-quality, affordable healthcare services and to improve the health of our members and the communities we serve. More information at www.kp.org. The University of Oregon has helped Oregonians question critically, think logically, reason effectively, communicate clearly, act creatively, and live ethically since 1876. More information at uoregon.edu. Lane Community College transforms lives through learning. LCC provides comprehensive, accessible, high-quality educational opportunities that promote student success. For more information, visit lanecc.edu. And thank you to the City of Eugene and to Lane County for their support as well. We are very fortunate to have three great leaders today to discuss the urgent challenge of food insecurity. Meredith Branch of Springfield High School, Carrie Copeland of Food for Lane County, where I coincidentally serve on the board of directors, and Mary Layton, the coordinator of the Interfaith Food Hub. Please join me in welcoming our panelists. And I think first up today, we'll hear from Carrie Copeland of Food for Lane County, and we will take your questions after the panelists give their opening statements. Thanks so much.
Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? Thank you. This is like the first time in front of the City Club and being on the radio in a long time, so give me grace today. Thank you. I am Carrie Copeland. I'm the Education and Programs Director at Food for Lane County. And today I am here to talk about what we do, why we do it, how we do it, and then really shine a light on a couple of really amazing partners that Mary and Meredith represent, because our partnerships really are how we do the work, the bulk of the work that we do. But to start, I want to ask for a show of hands. How many of you have donated your time, talent, money, or food to Food for Lane County in our community? Yeah, okay. For the radio listeners, that's like every hand in the room pretty much. So I want to say a heartfelt thank you to each and every one of you, because we don't exist without that, without your support. It's super humbling to get to work at Food for Lane County because our generous community supports everything that we do, and we do a lot. So thank you from the bottom of my heart in whatever way you have participated with us. So who we are a nonprofit. Some people have the perception that we're part of Lane County. We are not. We're a 501c3. Our mission is to collaborate with our community to create access to food. Our vision is to end hunger in Lane County, and we do so through our values, which are compassion, inclusion, and collaboration. And what we do in like the most basic form, a food bank is a distributor. So we procure about 8 million pounds of food annually, and we distribute that through our community, through our own programs, as well as our network of partners. We partner with over 150 unique agencies across Lane County who are moving food to over 80,000 unique individuals every year. So it's pretty awesome. We do a lot of really cool stuff. But first, why do we do it? And I think that this is kind of like my dad would say, intuitively obvious to the most casual observer, right? Food insecurity is everywhere. We don't always see it. In 2020, let me back up. We can define food insecurity as the condition where people don't have enough food to eat or they lack access to nutritious foods. And it is significant in Lane County. In 2023, about 13.2% of people were identified as food insecure, and statewide, that is 11.5%. So we see slightly elevated when we compare. And then that grew to 14.6% in 2024. And we definitely see that in our 2023 community survey. 32% of people that responded said that they worry that their food supply will run out often before they have money to buy more. And then another 52% of respondents said that sometimes that is the condition. So this is everywhere, right? And there are so many things that can cause that. I want to give you one more statistic just to demonstrate the demand that we're seeing, which is that in August of 2024, our partners served 10,000 more people than they did in August of 2023. And then in September, we saw 5,000 more visits than we did in the previous year. So that demand is increasing, and I think we all experience why, right? The cost of everything has increased just because of our conditions in the community. You pay more for rent, gas costs more, loans cost more, healthcare costs a lot. We get hit from every direction, and when people have to make really hard choices about their resources, the one place that we can skimp is food, right? I can say, oh, this week I am just gonna buy more ramen and beans and cabbage, and I'm not gonna buy meat, and I'm not gonna buy eggs, and I'm not gonna buy that fresh produce. So you can just see the contents of what people buy and the volume of what people can afford shrink, and that would be defined as food insecurity. So we are working to try to fill that gap. Where does our food supply come from? We are a partner of Oregon Food Bank, which is a statewide food bank, which is a partner of Feeding America, which is the nation's food bank. And through that partnership, we have access to USDA food, which is about 20% of food in our inventory right now. We also get a 28% from Oregon Food Bank. And then check this out. 35% of the food in our warehouse comes from local businesses. That is growers, producers, businesses, grocery stores that generously donate this awesome local food back into our food supply. Something that has changed since COVID is that percentage of food that we are purchasing. Pre-COVID, we might spend $25,000 a year of our own money. I made that number up, but it's small, on food purchase. When COVID dropped, a lot of money came into the system, we saw demand increase, and we responded by using that money to buy food. Social conditions have persisted to where demand is high, and food supply has remained fairly steady from our donated sources. So we have chosen to invest from our own reserves over $1 million in our budget this year. We've had state funding, FEMA funding, grant funding to support food purchase. That condition will probably persist into the future because of the need in our community. So we have a really robust development team that is helping us, and thank you again for all of your support towards that. Sorry. Okay, so before I talk about our partners, I'm going to tell you how we move this food out into the community. Before I worked at Food for Lane County, I didn't really understand how much Food for Lane County does. So we run a lot of programs ourselves, working to fill the gaps that we can where needed. So we have a senior nutrition program. Food for Lane County operates the Eugene area Meals on Wheels. We serve about 540 seniors every month. Just in Eugene. Senior and Disabled Services and LCOG operate Springfield and rural sites. We also have a monthly senior grocery program where food boxes of USDA food that we supplement with food from our warehouse go to 460 seniors every month. And those are typically delivered to a community center or to someone's door through volunteers that help us with those deliveries. In our youth nutrition programming, we operate this year 31 summer food sites. So like the lunches in the parks, the sack lunches. 31 of those sites are us. We served over 28,000 meals this summer to kiddos in Lane County. We operate 6 snack pack programs in 6 schools. Right now, those schools are all in the Springfield School District. We're working to expand that. Snack packs are like a Ziploc bag filled with really accessible foods for kids that can be sent home over a weekend or a holiday to make sure that a kiddo has food in their belly while they're not getting school meals. And then we have this really cool program, Cereal for Youth. It's 1.5-ounce packets of cereal donated directly from some providers in our community that goes out to schools, after-school programs, and it's just a snack to fill the belly of kiddos. If any of you, like me, parked across the street at the dining room, that is a meal site that we operate in downtown Eugene. We serve a midday meal Monday through Thursday. We're serving about 300 meals a day to a largely unhoused community right now. We operate a mobile pantry, which is like our partner pantries. It's open to the public. And we're working to fill gaps. So we're looking at geographic regions or specific demographics that we know are underserved and getting food into those communities. We served, where's my stat? I have to write all the stats down. We served 2,400 people in this last year through about 8 to 12 distributions monthly. We have a community engagement program where we're listening to the community to understand how we can better serve or what the conditions are that create barriers to access to food, as well as working to get the word out to our community about how to access food resources, because we've identified that a lot of people just don't know where, or there might be misperceptions on how or who can access food. We operate 2 garden/farm programs, the Youth Farm, which is on Game Farm Road over by Riverbend. It's a job training program for high school kiddos. We also have a CSA and farm stand. That site grows over 100,000 pounds of food every year that goes back into our warehouse and out into our community. We just bought a new farm. Woo woo! So we will be transitioning to a site on CV Loop, which we are so excited about and are planning, like, how can we get more food from this site into the community? And then we also have Grassroots Garden, which is a collaboration with the Master Gardener program. It's a learning garden, and we work with school groups and community groups to do a lot of education while we're growing food. And there's a meal served there any day that we're open for volunteers and participants who are helping us. We have a small work experience program. We're providing job training for warehouse folks, and we're working with the Eugene Chamber of Commerce to work with some of the folks staying in the temporary shelters to help them gain employment skills, and a nutrition education program in collaboration with Extension, OSU Extension. So that's a lot, right? We also move about 96% of that 8 million pounds of food into our community through our partnerships. We work with like the coolest people in this community, whether you're a volunteer or a partner, who all share our mission and work so tirelessly to help us meet the need in the community. So our partners are 501c3 nonprofits or faith-based organizations. And we focus on working with partners that are serving priority populations. So demographics that we know experience food insecurity at higher rates. Things, for example, there are about 3.8% of Caucasians experience food insecurity in Lane County, 13% of Native American people, 9.5% of Hispanic people, 11.8% of Black people. We also, from census data and some information from OSU, know that LGBTQ+ people experience food insecurity at a higher rate, single parents, people living with disabilities, on and on. So we really, notably, people serving and agencies serving the unhoused, which Mary is going to talk about. So with that, we have a couple types of partnerships. The partners that are open to the public and anyone can participate, have access to that USDA food. 70% of all of that food that goes out to partners is moved through our pantries. Public pantries are open to anybody. People only have to income qualify, and no one's ever going to check. They self-attest to that. We have 34 pantries in Lane County, and we try to populate those in every community as much as we can to create access. And to note, many of our partners, pantries, meal sites, nonprofits, particularly pantries and meal sets, are led by volunteers who are giving and giving and giving of their time to meet the need in their community. And I would say, particularly in rural communities, we see that with our partner pantries. The other type of public partnership is our meal sites. Right now, there are only 14 meal sites in Lane County. Most of them are here in the metro area. And those meal sites are open to anyone. And as you can imagine, it's probably the most, I don't think this is the right word, but fragile folks as far as food insecurity goes. That's who those programs are serving. Mary's going to talk a lot more about that, so I'll pause. We also have other types of partners that don't have access to the USDA food, and that is because they're not necessarily open to the public, and that's a requirement of the USDA to access that food. In food making lingo, they're called supplemental partnerships because that food is seen as supplemental to the total food needs. I think of it this way. The food is not in the mission of those partners, but it is supplemental to the mission. And so Meredith is going to talk about school pantry and those types of partners, and I see that as absolutely supporting the mission of schools to educate students and help families stably do so. So by providing food through a school, it helps meet that mission. We have about 80 supplemental partners, and it's awesome. Like, we are in the center of this network of just the coolest agencies: HIV Alliance, Hope and Safety Alliance. We partner with affordable housing providers, health clinics, schools, all the like so many of the nonprofits in this community. Transponder, and again, really trying to target those demographics that experience need in the highest way. And let's see, because I'm talking too long, I'm gonna kind of move into my closing. I want to share that we have not added new partners since 2021, and that is because although our food supply has remained pretty stable because we are investing resources into food purchase, the demand has increased so high. So we have a wait list of agencies that want to be getting food out into the community, and we're really trying to nimbly figure out how we can support that work, even though we're not able to bring them on as partners. We're also watching and planning about what's next, knowing that the incoming administration has signaled that they're not necessarily planning to fund food assistance programming like SNAP, WIC, TANF, or USDA at the same level as the current administration. However, we remain very hopeful, and it is because of the support of our community. Just the generosity of our donors, our volunteers, our staff, the community that we serve, and importantly, the amazing partners that we get to work with who do this work day in, day out, many of them unpaid. So I'm going to cede to Mary. Please come up and tell people. I'm excited for you to hear what Mary has to say.
I thought that Social Security check was my pay. You mean I don't have to do it? Thanks, Carrie. We're grateful for everything Food for Lane County does now, to help our community do the right thing by our neighbors. In the Serviceberry, ethnobotanist Robin Wall Kimmerer's newest book, she says, data tell the story that there are enough food calories on the planet for 8 billion of us to be nourished. That's all of us. And yet people are starving. Robin recollects being invited for a day of berry picking in her neighbor's garden, the service berries. With my fingers sticky with berry juice, I'm reminded that my life is contingent upon the lives of others. Food in our mouths is the thread that connects us as our bodies get fed and our spirits nourished by a sense of belonging, which is the most vital of foods. She drops the berries in her bucket and comments, "This abundance of berries feels like a pure gift from the land. I have not earned, paid for, nor labored for them. There is no mathematics of worthiness that reckons I deserve them in any way." But then she adds, "All flourishing is mutual among those who share this planet." Food for Lane County has many kinds of partners, as you heard. And today I will describe Interfaith Food Hub, where I've been a volunteer since, well, for a long time. Uh, we are just one of Food for Lane County's many, many partners. You can find the long list of others of every size and type on its website, foodforlanecounty.org. I was going to do a handout, but I figured there's not enough paper in the world, so I decided just to send you to the website. To be a Food for Lane County partner is to be reminded regularly of the abundance in our community, the abundance of food so freely shared, the abundance of goodwill given without regard to worthiness, but only to hunger. I suspect that many believe the work of feeding each other in this context is full of earnest endeavor. But in my experience, it has been full of fun and opportunities to get to know folks who don't live in my neighborhood or share my work history or religious or political affiliations. We are always productive and always having a good time. I can tell you, for example, there's at least 5 people in my own parish who attend the same service that I do, and we never talk religion because it's perfectly clear to all of us we believe different things. But we love working together. First Christian Church started Sunday breakfast as a sit-down meal that included eggs, pancakes, sausage, and beverages every Sunday morning from like 7 to 10 or something like that. Sunday breakfast grew too large for one congregation to manage, and pretty soon other parishes joined in, and they contributed volunteers and money. It was fun. My job was just to show up on Sunday mornings once a month and scramble eggs. And sometimes I brought my grandchildren with me, and they helped scramble eggs or do something else that was allowed by the law in a kitchen. I particularly enjoyed watching the pancake maker produce 24 perfectly shaped pancakes. I couldn't do that with 3 pancakes. And then I discovered he was the executive chef at Market of Choice. It was experience I was seeing. Sometimes I brought a grandchild, then came COVID, and breaking bread together was not a safe choice. The Sunday breakfast coordinator at that time, it was Josh Purvis, it was a great idea, pivoted to a format that provided meals to go to community partners. We are now Interfaith Food Hub. When we were a Sunday breakfast, a Food for Lane County meal site, we served about 1,000 meals a month, with one team setting up on Saturday afternoon and another cooking on Sunday. Interfaith Food Hub is much larger and more complex. We now serve 8,000 to 10,000 meals a month. Financial donations and volunteers come from First Christian, First Congregational, Temple Beth Israel, Sikh Dharma, Central Lutheran, and Episcopal churches of St. Mary, St. Thomas, and Resurrection. All those churches, by the way, do other stuff in the social justice arena. So we're just one of their side jobs. Trauma Healing Projects hosts our meetings. First Christian and St. Mary Episcopal maintained licensed kitchens for our use at no cost to us. First Congregational serves as our fiscal agent. It's very complicated. We spend about $3,500 a month in addition to the stuff we get from Food for Lane County, and we're all volunteer. We provide bagged meals to Whitebird Clinic, First Place Family Center, Everyone Village, HIV Alliance, Helping Hearts at First Christian, Garfield Safe Spot, Opportunity Village, and Nightingale Community. In this season, when we are enjoined to avoid sentimentalizing the meals the earliest colonizers may or may not have shared with Indigenous people, I think it's important to mention our current work has benefited from generous grants from local tribal foundations. Cow Creek Umpqua, Spirit Mountain, Three Rivers, and Coquille, among others, have demonstrated confidence in the possibility of our redemption. Interfaith Food Hub has pivoted its mission focus too. Originally, we were a meal site. You came and ate. But we had little to offer besides food to allay their hunger in the moment. Now we have made a conscious choice to become a collective impact project. That is, our mission of feeding hungry neighbors is achieved by adding appeal and effectiveness to the missions of other community partners who don't have food, but who do have resources to help neighbors meet the challenges that keep them unhoused. At St. Mary's Episcopal, on Tuesdays, my team, without really much help from me, produces 400 cookies, 29 quarts of chicken salad, 18 quarts of tuna salad, 25 quarts of egg salad, and some random number of hard-boiled eggs that are not needed for salad. It takes a village to get to that point. 2 shoppers check inventory at both St. Mary's and First Christian because I never remember to send them the list. Then they go to Food for Lane County and see what's there for us because a third person has reviewed the list of items on offer and had our order set aside. Then shoppers go to the bakery and other places to get what else they need. They spend their own money and then get reimbursed. Always chicken, sometimes more bread and eggs, mayo, relish, seasonings. The list is ever-changing. This is not a simple task. Yet another person has sent out the sign-up notice, tracked whether we had enough cooks, meal makers, if every team is full, and if it's not, she sends out another note saying, come on, sign up. The crew arrives by 8:30 or 9, and what really blows my mind is sometimes I go looking for something at 10:30 or 11. They're done. They're gone. The place is cleaned up. They've made 500 to 700 meals, and they're gone already. 2 make chicken salad. 1 or 2 make, and that's my phone. Sorry about that. In my pocket, yes, sorry. 2 make chicken salad. 1 or 2 make the tuna salad, which is harder than you might imagine because you have to balance out the free tuna with the paid-for tuna because otherwise it tastes awful. And we all walk around with clean spoons all around the kitchen trying to figure out what tastes, which, if everything is right. Now, it's a terrible sacrifice we make, but... And 2 or 3 turn the cookie dough into 450 cookies, 400 for lunches and the rest for quality control, testing and sharing with the building staff, because you can't cook cookies in a building full of people and not offer anybody some. And the guests who help unload the food, when I bring the food over to First Christian, I always go alone because everybody looks at me and it establishes in a minute I'm not capable of carrying heavy objects downstairs, and so then they become part of the helping team, and in return I share a nice warm cookie with them. We could find ample supplies of cookies in Food for Lane County supplies, but we make our own from scratch. Now, some of you are going to find this very familiar. Nothing says lovin' like something from the oven. We have our own cookie maker. He was a chef, and he makes really good cookies in a regular rotation. Okay. By noon, the products of our labor have been taken to First Christian and stored for use by the other teams. Oops, okay, so the other teams have an equally complicated system, which means I never work there because I can't handle a complicated system. All I can tell you is there's leads who know everything that needs to be done. They're good at adjusting the process to accommodate the talent that shows up at the door, and in some cases the obsessions. But everybody has a happy task that they're good at doing, and they're always done by 11 o'clock in the morning, even though I tell them to reserve until 12. The other interesting thing from my point of view is we know what our partners need. So first place doesn't want more sugar snacks. Some places want more fruit. Some places don't want fruit, they just want cookies. So every packing order reflects feedback from the people that we're serving about what they want and when they want it. Like I was just saying, Helping Hearts, they don't get snacks, they only get peanut butter and jelly. But we don't make that decision. That's the decision of the person at the site. Given our name, I think it's worth mentioning, we never, ever, ever talk religion or politics. We know we don't all agree on that. What we agree on is feeding hungry people is a good thing. And I was thinking about why do we do it? Well, some people believe that you could earn your way into heaven by doing good deeds. Other people believe, well, if you're a child of God, that's what children of God do. Other people have no concept of that at all. They're just doing it because it's fun. And some people just have the ethical humanist approach that feeding hungry people is a good thing. Interestingly, our friends at St. Mary do the same thing as we do. They make food for some of the same partners, but we coordinate so we're not delivering thousands of sandwiches on the same day. And they do hot meals, which sort of blows my mind. They do the breakfast we used to do, only they deliver it to Whitebird. Some of the other Food for Lane County partners are here today. I did mean to send you home with a list, but as I said, there's not enough trees in the world. You can find the list on Food for Lane County. I urge you to look for it if you're not already doing something like this, because it really is fun. It's very satisfying, and you only have to sign up for the time you really want to spend. On a side note about abundance, some of you might have noticed that City Club attenders are allowed to park across the street, across 8th, in the parking lot of the dining room, a Food for Lane County site that operates like a restaurant. It's closed on Fridays. Since parking can be a little challenging here at the Wow Hall, I asked whether we could use the lot. Josie McCarthy, the manager, agreed without hesitation. Oh, of course, sure. She understands that Robin Kimmerer's point about sharing in abundance. In turn, I offered to put out a collection bank in case anybody wanted to contribute to the dining room as a thanks for the parking. Once a month, we empty the jar and give it to Josie to spend on the dining room amenities. In case you happen to be wondering, yes, the jar is still there. Delivery is today, and if you had anything you wanted to drop into it, whether or not you parked, it would all be delivered shortly after this meeting to the dining room across the street. And it's how we support our friends and neighbors. As the leader of a Food for Lane County partner organization, I invite you to find a place for your time and talents in a group that does work you might enjoy. Robin Wall Kimmerer reminds us, you are all invited to become a member of the gift economy on behalf of people and planet.
All right, I'm taller, so I'm going to have to raise this up. Yeah, there, there we go. Hi, I'm Meredith Branch, and I'm representing Springfield High School. And we have gotten so much great information so far about meeting the challenges of food insecurity in Lane County. But how widespread is food insecurity in our community of children, school-aged children? That's what I will be talking about. We can look at the numbers and know that it exists, but you can't always see it, and people are really good at hiding it. And kids are especially good at hiding it. They might ask for granola bar, but you don't actually know that all they've had to eat for the past 12 hours is ramen because that's all that's in their cupboard. Or maybe a kid comes into your room at school for an apple and shoves 3 or 4 into their pockets, which I'm totally endorsed, by the way. But either he's really hungry or he's taking it home. I don't know which, but you see these things. They don't usually come right out and tell you things, which is especially true of the group that I work with, teenagers, no big surprise there. So I run the Student and Family Resource Center at Springfield High School. Now these resource positions were created after COVID by the Springfield School District with the goal to meet kids' basic needs and to help support their learning and academics. Each school in the district has a family resource position, and how the position looks varies from school to school depending on their individual needs. So at Springfield High School, the Resource Center is a room that houses many things: a food pantry, a student refrigerator for snacks, a table with fresh fruit and the aforementioned granola packets from Food for Lane County, a bookcase filled with bins of basic need items, which basically anything from toiletries to toothpaste and socks to school supplies. Students can just come in and take what they need. They don't have to ask me. I mean, sometimes they do, but they definitely don't have to. Sometimes they don't talk, sometimes they do. I always try to greet them and establish some rapport because, teenagers, you have to get to know them. You have to earn their trust and gain their comfort. And in doing so, you will learn little things about them. You'll make little observations, little comments will come out. And you're like, okay, you just kind of quietly take note of and put all the puzzle pieces together. And of course, you have to put things in front of them that, without saying anything about it, provide subtle, indirect ways to offer help without actually directly asking them if they need help. So that is what I've learned. So let's talk briefly about the importance of eating to learning. There's a lot of reasons schools care about this. There's ample research to show that food insecurity can lead to lower math and reading scores, increased absences and tardies, and even lower graduation rates. Furthermore, we know that there is a direct relationship between the food we consume and our mental health. Now, the National School Lunch and Breakfast Program does help with this, and at Springfield High School, we even have a second breakfast, just in case kids miss the first one before school. Furthermore, everyone eats for free at Springfield thanks to the community eligibility provision for the 2024-25 school year. But these meals end at 11:30 though, and that leaves a lot of time afterwards for kids to navigate like sports practice, homework, jobs, and many of them I know just don't have a lot of food at home, so that's a pretty long time. So when I first started at Springfield, I identified pretty quickly that food insecurity was a big issue. And one of the ways we chose to address this was partnering up with Food for Lane County and starting a family food box program. And I'm wondering if we were like the last one to get in there. 2021, so that was lucky. So we make custom food boxes every Tuesday and Thursday, and we distribute between 20 and 25 boxes each week. People sign up online using a Google form, and they select the foods they would like to have in their box, and then the job skills class at our school puts them together. And based on the usage of our program, I really am convinced that the school-based food pantries are helpful in combination with federal nutrition programs like SNAP and WIC for ensuring that students and their families have consistent access to food. Logistically, it's easier to get food to students and their families in a school setting. We find out about and get referrals for students who need food from counselors and trusted adults and other school people that kids see every day. Parents can be reached through an established mode of communication like parent newsletters. The district has social media feeds, text blasts. There are a couple different things. And most critically, kids and families are going to be most likely to ask for help from the places where they're most comfortable and can easily access, which is often their school. One of the challenges to school food pantries, and I'm sure any food pantry, is the stigma associated with asking for help. So right now, the cost of living for people working, plus any family issues they might be having, is really resulting in widespread food insecurity. Many folks are not left with enough money to cover basic needs and feel stigma and shame for just asking for help to give their families basic food. And this is something that I feel like school pantries can actively try to destigmatize. I know this is one of the things I'm trying to do. So I think having a pantry in a school really can help normalize the experience, and particularly putting it out open in the resource room. Kids come in to my room and they see the food all the time, and we regularly have conversations about it. They ask how they can get it or how different, like what it is. Or like, oh, what's that on the shelf? That looks good. And then I explain, well, you can have it, but there's a process, and you know, it's conversed about. Recently, they noticed that the pantry shelves looked really empty, and they even like initiated the school-wide food drive. So it's pretty cool. In general, I try to get as many students involved in the pantry as possible, which is, I think, good for the destigmatizing part, but it's also critical to functioning because I'm the only person who does it and I can't do it all. So in addition to the special ed students in the job skills class who put the food boxes together, I have assistants who do all the things. They help me unload boxes and produce. They help bag produce every week. They tape up boxes that I use for the food boxes. They help sort and bag tea. We got a big donation from Yogi Tea recently. Gosh, what else do they do? Oh, they check cans for expiration dates, all sorts of things. We also do weekend food backpacks, and students do all that. I mean, I organize it for them, but then they go off and make them. So, and I also, let's see, I also want to add that students can and do sign up for food boxes on their own. I mean, a lot of times it's parents, but we do have a fair number of students, probably about a quarter of our registered families, who take that initiative to sign up on their own for their families or sometimes just for themselves. We actually have a pretty high percentage of unhoused students at Springfield. Last year it was 92, and so far it's 31 out of 1,200. I mean, it's kind of a lot. So yeah, and I just want to say, Carrie, everything you said resonates too about the increased need. Just yesterday I was looking at our numbers from last year, and at this time last year, well, this time this year, from last year, we've done over 50 more food boxes than we had from last year, which for a small pantry is a lot. The past 3 Thursdays is always our biggest day for some reason. We've had 18 boxes each day, which is a lot when kids are doing it during a class period, and we're like, okay, it's another 18 boxer. Like, that's a record. So anyways, that's kind of our program in a nutshell, and I know we want to have time for questions, so I will wrap it up.
Thank you all very much. We will get to questions and answers in just a moment, but first, a quick thank you to our in-kind sponsors, KRVM 91.9 Radio, Dot Dotson's Photography, Pack Info, and Kids Sports. Also a special thank you to our award-winning public radio station, KLCC FM 89.7, for airing City Club programs Monday nights at 7 p.m. For those listening at home or in the car right now, your household is one of several thousand tuning into City Club on KLCC, and we love that you're here. You can find all recent City Club programs archived on KLCC as well as on our YouTube channel and as podcasts. We'll be right back with question and answer. Thank you. All right, everybody.
Don't leave that pizza. The sign
Welcome back to the City Club of Eugene's Forum on Food Insecurity in Lane County. Our first question today goes to City Club Board Member Kelly Johnson. Kelly.
Thank you all so much for your presentation today. You described this really beautiful network of partners and volunteers, which is so impressive. I've heard from some other nonprofits that getting volunteers, recruiting volunteers right now is particularly challenging, and I'm wondering if, one, you experience that, or two, if you could talk about how you guys recruit volunteers to fill in this beautiful system.
We're always in a recruitment mode. Sometimes we play the make up for your sins card, given our background. Sometimes we play the, it's fun. And actually, it really is fun. I posted a picture on my own Facebook page lately of one of our mischief-making volunteers. Otherwise, it's just, what can I say? Even my grandchildren like to do it. And they're teenagers. So I was thinking the other day that I wanted to ask the Terrell Group, which I know from another experience, if they would teach me how to do public relations so I could recruit more volunteers. I really don't know how to do that. So I wish I had more information, but there's no secret to this, or at least it's still a secret to me. Oh, and it's Mary, by the way, I forgot to tell you.
This is Carrie at Lane County, and I can speak a little bit to what we do, but I, again, will say we have privilege of being a larger nonprofit where we have a paid staff member who is able to help us recruit volunteers, and we pay for a software that lands on our website. So if folks are interested in volunteering, we can drive them to sign up electronically. So there's like maybe a little less people, he works very hard at it, but there's like a portal where people can scope their volunteer opportunities and sign up for the ones that match their interest or their availability. And then we also have these dedicated volunteers like the dining room or the gardens or Meals on Wheels, and people that are really drawn to the specific mission of that program and the specific work and have been with us forever. Some volunteers for more than 20 years, and they are like ambassadors. So when possible, we try to ask them to help us recruit more when we're in need. And then we get a lot of support from different groups. I'm telling you this, Rotaries, businesses, when they pay for their staff to come en masse and volunteer. And so maybe looking for opportunities like that. And then students, a lot of high schoolers and college students need volunteer hours for graduation or for sorority or fraternity, and that's a good source for us. And the last thing I want to say is a shout out to the ARC of Lane County, which is one of our pantry partners. and they work with individuals with intellectual and developmental disabilities. And that's a really underutilized group of people who want to be part of community. They want to, interact. They want to make a difference, and we don't think of them a lot. Recently, at a statewide food banking network, our friends at the ARC said, hey, we want to get involved. So I would reach out to the ARC for those opportunities.
And this is Mary again. I just want to say everything in our organization is volunteer. There is no paid employee. And that makes fundraising a little easier because they know every penny is going to go for either food or the wrapping paper.
Next question.
Yes, I'm Ed Murphy. I'm a non-member of City Club, but I'm with St. Mary's Episcopal Church that Mary talked about. Two things. Mary, can you talk about the impending closure of Whitebird's front rooms? And then can you talk about the letter campaign that led to a media thing and then led to everybody knowing about it? Thank you.
Totally. I want to preface this by saying, in my world, everybody makes mistakes all the time. If we went around finger pointing, we'd never get to the end of it. So I really appreciate that Whitebird has been able to do this for so long on probably what amounts to very little money. But December 13th is the announced date. I got an email about it from somebody who knows. I forget who. Maybe Jeremy. But anyway, December 13th, the office on the service providing site on 12th Street is going to be closed. And there is a rumor that the work will be disseminated to other places, but we don't know where yet. That concerns us because between St. Mary's and us and Burrito Brigade, we deliver hundreds of meals a day, and they disappear. They're not going into the freezer for a day when there's more people. They go every day. So we know people are showing up there to get food, and they're also getting help accessing services. And we really need to know what's going to happen. And what I have heard, again, this is not an area, nobody in their right mind ever put me in charge of money, except fundraising I'm good at, is that the services, they're now doing a fee-for-service thing. So it used to be like us, everybody just did it because it needed to be done, and then they got a little bit of money, and that was better than no money. But now they've sort of shifted to a model where they can get reimbursed from our wonderful government agencies to pay for stuff for people who don't have the money. And the front room on 12th doesn't have that kind of service. It's like all of us who volunteer, we do what is necessary. We don't have anybody we think is going to pay us for doing it. We just do it. So we, actually inspired by Ed, I've invited all of my volunteers to write to the board and say, how can we help solve this problem? How can we help meet the need? Because we are not happy about the possibility of closing that site, and we have not been reassured that other sites will cover the need, and we know that there is a big need. So if you're so inspired, again, not to point the finger or blame anybody, it's complicated to make this work, but do offer help and encourage the Whitebird Board to figure out how not to close, how not to diminish services, because there's never been a bigger need.
Hi, I'm Genevieve Schock with Burrito Brigade. I'd like to point out, before I ask my question, that actually some of the front room services are reimbursable under the health-related social needs, or will be in January and March, respectively. And so I very much encourage the board of Whitebird, and I hate public speaking, I'm so sorry, and their ED to consider keeping the rooms open until that funding becomes available. So yes, I'm with Burrito Brigade. We are not a Food for Lane County partner, but we still serve 180 families every week. We have 55 little free pantries throughout the community. We also make 700 burritos a week, a lot of which go to Whitebird and then do disappear. But I wanted to ask Carrie, just like on a positive kind of thing, because you're doing this very cool thing with local farmers. And so could you talk a little bit about the supply to your pantries with these collaborations with local farmers?
Can I ever? Thank you. She's not a plant. I do want to talk about this. We got some really cool funding. A couple years ago, it was a partnership just with Oregon Food Bank. It grew in this last year to some really generous support that Trillium started, and it trickled through Willamette Farm and Food Coalition, and then a huge plunk of money from Lane Community Health Council, which is Pacific Source funding, to purchase foods from local farms and move it through our network of partners. I'm smiling at Grant because he's with the Soil and Water Conservation District, and we get to hold hands on that also. So it's really exciting. This year we had about $250,000 to purchase from local farms, and worked really hard to forward contract with those farms, meaning they were paid a big chunk at the beginning to actually afford the growth and the planning and the, to do the work, instead of just taking the risk like, oh yeah, sure, you can pay us at the end. So we paid them somewhat upfront and then a little bit at the end. And I don't remember the pounds of food that we've been able to move into the community. But it's helping us focus on working with young, like startup farms, BIPOC, women-owned farms, and then some of the really generous farms that have donated to Food for Lane County for a long time. It's exciting because it's putting the money back in the local economy. It's increasing access to really healthy, locally grown produce. And it's helping just reinvigorate conversations around our food system and ways that we can work together to grow this over time. The Lane Community Health Council investment is a 5-year investment, so we'll have $150,000 in the next 4 years also to continue this work and just try to get better at it. We're learning a ton as we go about how to do that. I'm looking at Jen, because I could say more, but I'm not sure what else. But I would love to talk to anybody about this someday, because it is so exciting. Okay, I think that's it. Here, take it away from me.
Thank you. Next question.
Hello, I'm Mark Horney. I'm a City Club member. As food insecurity changes over time, can you see conditions that drive those changes other than sort of the general ones of general economic conditions and housing costs and so forth? Are there other things that drive changes in food insecurity?
Well, I would answer that when we see SNAP benefits increase, it can help shorten the lines at food distribution sites. I think it was in the last year, the allotment of SNAP funds was increased. The thrifty budget that they base the benefit on was increased a little bit, and that was helpful, but it wasn't increased enough to keep up with inflation. So we didn't really see a drop in the lines, but more progress on SNAP, which can be a longer term benefit than someone coming and getting a box of food for a week or a meal at a time, kind of a longer term support. So that benefit, WIC and TANF, which is temporary aid for needy families, or other social support programs, and that can really help. That's what comes to my mind right now. What else?
I can say with 95% certainty that pretty much everybody in my line of work wishes we didn't have to do it anymore, because we had figured out a way to house people who don't have access to a kitchen to make their own meals. And that's the solution I would like to see in the long run. I don't know if it's housing costs or what, but, and when I think about, I looked at the numbers because I was a school principal. I know if once your numbers get over 50% of families living in poverty, then you can give everybody free lunch. But what kind of a society are we that has such a high rate of child poverty? Civilized countries in other parts of the world don't have child poverty like we have. So we need much, much better social policy. And like, of course, we don't talk religion and politics at our cooking sessions. We all have different ideas about how that might happen. But the fact that there is such need that Food Hub in the last 4 years has grown from $1,000 a month to $8,000 or $10,000 meals a month, that says something very bad is going on, and we need to figure out what it is and change it.
Next question from Thomas Hura.
Hello, everybody. Thomas Hura, City Club member since 2019. My question is for Carrie Copeland with Food for Lane County, and also for Meredith Branch with Springfield High School, because you both kind of work a lot with youth. But I think, Mary, you do that as well with Interfaith Food Hub, so anybody can jump in. The question is rather simple. How do the young people react to the food? How do they navigate the potential of stigma? And what is the range of reactions they have to the quality of the food?
I just want to say, Network Charter School, where I used to work, which has more than a 50% poverty rate, the students cook the meals twice a day, breakfast and lunch. I go there for lunch whenever I can. Nobody complains about the food, and they're a partner of Food for Lane County too.
Yeah, I mean, stigma is definitely a problem, and all of those things I outlined in my talk are what we're trying to do to defeat stigma. But you know, among the students who get the food boxes and the snack backpacks, I've never heard any complaint about it, that's for sure. So, and students can be picky. So, young people can be picky, but those people, I generally do not hear them complain. Yeah, I have heard a few comments from adults, never children, about expiration dates. You know, there's a lot of confusion about that issue. But that's about it.
One more thought, and we talk about this at the statewide level with food banks, is universal meals makes a big difference. When every kid has access to food, and it's not just the kids that need it that go, it normalizes it for everybody, and they see participation in the program increase, which means that the kids that need it are able to get it. So we definitely advocate for that type of programming benefit.
Actually, I can add one more
Oh,
thing.
yeah.
Really quick, one of the things I'm doing, speaking to what Carrie just said about getting people into the cafeteria, because at Springfield, it is free, but there's this weird stigma about eating cafeteria food among a lot of kids. So I stole this idea from Sheldon, who had a clothing area, free clothing area in the middle of their cafeteria. And so I thought, well, that's brilliant. So we started that at Springfield. So we have a big, we call it the Miller Outfitters, which is a free thrift clothing boutique. And we get tons of donations and we make it look pretty, and we're trying to get people into the cafeteria, because I feel like if it's just an idea of going in, maybe if they're saying they're going in for clothing, you know, they could maybe while they're there grab a meal. I don't know if that's working, but we're trying.
South Eugene also has a food pantry and a free thrift store. And in fact, it's a thing apparently among teenagers to thrift for their ball gowns and whatever other things they have.
I just want to point out, do you see why I love my job? Because I get to work with these amazing people that do innovative things that make such a positive difference. You guys are cool.
Follow up.
I just wanted to, because there's an audience, and this ties into the nutrition incentives, at all of the small and rural farmers markets throughout the counties, there are programs such as Double Up Food Bucks and Bucka Bucka Bucks and the Little Lettuce program. And the Little Lettuce is no income requirement, and what that does is it gets kids to go up and get $5 for fresh fruits and veggies, and it puts parents who might have that stigmatization and might be scared to stand in the SNAP line, it decreases that barrier, and that's a really great way to kind of help extend the SNAP budget and do all of those things. So I just kind of wanted to, it's tied to your programming as well. So.
We have time for one more question. You mentioned, Mary, that there's plenty of food in the world to feed everybody. That makes me think about the issue of food waste, and I wondered if each of you could talk a little bit about how actually your programs integrate the concept of food waste in an effort to minimize it and get more food out the door to folks in need. And you can talk about expiration dates and all sorts of other things in that vein, but curious if you have thoughts on that.
I have so many. Do you want to go first?
I'll let you talk more of it. Yeah, it breaks my heart every time I go to Food for Lane County, and I was getting food for the school at the Mission too, but I just don't have time to do it all. But I mean, I go in their big warehouse, their cooler room, and there's just so much food. Like, there's so much food that the grocery stores have just not sold. I think they're overproducing, but I hear they want to have their shelves look full. So, you know, it's ridiculous. There's so much need and there's so much food waste. It just kills me.
So food waste is something that we measure, as you know, at Food for Lane County. We do our best to minimize waste, and really we're kind of, along with Burrito Brigade, an agency that kind of swoops in and tries to capture that waste from grocery stores and then move it out as fast as we can. And we are collecting more food from grocery stores. We've added new stores into our network, which means that food is usually pretty short dated. And so we have a pretty short turnaround time to move it into the community before it's going to expire. So we're right now really focused on trying to cut ourselves out of a middleman position and have a store give their food directly to one of our partners that can move it same day, which I think is one of the things that makes Burrito Brigade so effective, because they can move it really fast. For us, it comes to our warehouse, we sort it, and then we put it in the shopping cooler, and Meredith picks it up. So it can add a day or two, which could cause more waste. So we're working to minimize waste that way. We're also working to train the grocery stores to either move it to us faster or not give us their garbage, because that is helpful for us. And then there is another really amazing type of partnership, and it exists everywhere, and it is gleaning groups. So there's a couple in Lane County, and we have partnerships with gleaning groups that come to our warehouse on Fridays, because we have a Saturday, Sunday that we're not working, and the gleaning groups come in and they scavenge our shopping cooler of the fresh foods that we know aren't going to make it over the weekend. And they'll take it and repack it and get it out to their members. So at the end of the day, Friday, we have just a small chunk of waste, and then we have partnerships with pig farmers. So we give it to the pig farmers, and then they tend to donate pig pork to us as their thank you, which is a really beautiful relationship. So we do our best to minimize it, but about 3%. We right now are between 3, 4, 5%, depending. We had a lot of milk that went bad really fast at one point this summer. It came to us with 1 day, and we couldn't move it all because it was so much. So our numbers are high, but we work to 3%.
I just wanted to say, it's Interfaith Food Hub at St. Mary's. When we cook, one of the women takes all of the celery tops for her chicken, and the other one takes all of the eggshells for her compost pile. And you used to be able to do it at a school. You would scrape your plate after lunch into a bin, and then the local chicken or pig or whatever farmer. But there's a rule against that now. I guess people were oversampling.
And then one last thought is many of our Eugene partners, and the dining room in particular, partner with the city with the Food Love Not Waste. So we are trying to compost, and of course our gardens are composting all the time. We even get all the leaves from the city of Eugene. Not all of them, but we're one of the leaf collectors, and that's how we do composting at Grassroots Garden. Cool. Yeah.
Thank you all so much for your work and for coming to City Club. Please join me in thanking our panel. One note from me as we head into Thanksgiving week. In July of 1863, in a field outside Gettysburg, Pennsylvania, 165,000 Americans waged war against one another. A third of them ended up dead or wounded. The Union was divided. It was engulfed in a battle over slavery that would end up costing over 700,000 lives. And the future of the United States at that moment was never less certain. Yet just 3 months later, on October 3rd, 1863, President Lincoln issued a Thanksgiving proclamation that began as follows, and I quote, "The year that is drawing toward its close has been filled with the blessings of fruitful fields and healthful skies." History, as always, provides precious perspective. For while we face serious challenges in our community and in our country, we discussed one of those just today, we have, in the 80 years since Lincoln's proclamation, ensured that those who laid down their lives in Gettysburg did not die in vain. Our great experiment, government of the people, by the people, for the people, lives on, as do the bountiful harvests of the Willamette Valley and the stunning sunsets of the Oregon coast. In short, we have an awful lot to be thankful for. City Club is back on December 6th for an exit interview with Eugene Mayor Lucy Vinnis. Until then, have a blessed Thanksgiving.